Simple Momo here. Today we're going to start the book, The TwistRose Key. And we're going to start with Chapter 1. We will read Chapter 1, and then hopefully, if you guys like it, we will start Chapter 2. Chapter 1. The grave that Lynn had made for her friend could not be touched by the wind. Above the dripping rosebush flailed, scratching its thorns at the wall. But the little cross of the twig and string did not so much as shiver. Instead, a lick of rime had crept up to cover the wood with white. Later, Lynn Rosequist would remember this as a sign, the first. Perhaps she might have caught it then, if she hadn't been too busy watching the storm. It had came from the north and roared up the river, wrenching through the cobbled streets of Old Town, pulling dusk down between the wooden houses in the early afternoon. Lynn stood by Mrs. Inchler's flower's bed, with her hand in her pocket, grinning to herself. At last, a storm that showed some promise. She crouched down to whisper to the cross, "See you later, little one." The front door groaned when she opened it. The house her parents rented from Mrs. Inchler leaned out over the river, supported by tarred poles on one side. Like other narrow houses crammed together along the bank, the whole building had been warped by centuries in the bitter mist. It smelled crooked, too. Whiffs of rotten wood and chemicals drifted from floor to floor to hide behind the curtains. Lynn hung her coat next to the grandfather clock in the hallway. A husky recording of gnarled voices and violins seeped out from the kitchen. Her mother was working in there. "Linda Lynn, is that you at last?" The music stopped and Anne Rosequist appeared in the doorway. At the sight of Lynn's drenched coat, her face clouded over with concern. "Have you been standing by the rose bush again in this weather?" "I'm not that wet," Lynn lied, as she squished out of her boots. "I just need to go upstairs and—" "Don't go up just yet," her mother said quickly. "I've made rice pudding, your favorite. Dessert before dinner." That was ominous. Lynn followed her into the kitchen that also doubled as a study. Her mother collected old songs that would otherwise have died with the last people who knew them. In August, she had unexpectedly been offered a teaching position in the university. It meant that she could pass them on, all those theories on broken nights and clerk faults. But it also meant that the Rosequist had to leave Summerhill, the farm where Lynn had lived for all her 11 years, where the fields smelled of fresh-turned soil and the mountains hugged the stars between their peaks. What a nasty squall! Her mother shoved aside some notebooks to make room for the fluffy pudding and raspberry sauce. The rice cream recipe was ancient, too, a Summerhill tradition, with chopped candied almonds sprinkled on top. There could be snow at the end of it, though, her mother added. "Wouldn't you like that?" Linda did like snow, though she wasn't sure what good it would do here. At home, she and her best friend, Nicholas, would have snowball fights until their fingers were numb and blue. And they would have to warm them on Grandma's almost giant cups of hot cocoa. And when dusk crept down the mountain slopes, they would make snow lights, little igloos with candles inside that sent flickering beams of frozen stream. "The better to ward off the enemy," Nicholas would laugh, and Lynn would laugh as well, scanning the forest edges for eyes. "I'm afraid there will be no snow for you just yet, Miss Rosequist." Her father came sauntering into the kitchen, sat down at the table, and dug the serving spoon into the rice cream. "It would rain for another week at least." "Surely not a whole week," her mother said. But, of course, she knew better. Harlan Rosequist owned a rain gauge, 4 thermometers, and no less than 3 barometers in a well-polished frame. He kept temperature records and checked the forest several times a day, so if he said it would rain for another week, it would. "I heard one of your songs today, Lynn," her mother said, and hummed brightly as she heaped pudding into her bowl. Lynn knew the tune. It was the one with the hair. She was named for her mother's greatest discovery, the ballads of fair Lynn, who grew enchanted apples, and rescued princesses and spun her locks into gold. "My daughter deserves to be the hero of a song," her mother liked to say. But her mother didn't have to spend the first weeks of a new school explaining why her name was so strange. Picking up her spoon, Lynn said, "It's not exactly my song, Mom, and my hair is the opposite of gold." "Remember what I told you about reading songs? Gold doesn't always mean gold." Her mother's mouth twitched into a smile. "Your father and I have some exciting news to share. My class is full for the next term already. They want me to stay at least until next summer." She saw Lynn's face and mended it too. "Only until next summer. Another year at most." Another year in Mrs. Ichler's skeleton-legged house. Lynn put her spoon down. It clattered against the table. After a brief silence, her father cleared his throat. "You know what? I think it's time for a riddle." It was their little ritual, one Lynn used to love when she was younger. Every night over tea and sweet buns, in the Moriello house kitchen, she would decipher badly worded poems and pore over treasure maps or quizzes until she came up with the right answer. "Are you ready?" He winked at her. "How do you spell deadly mousetrap with only 3 letters?" "Harold!" Her mother's face went white. "Don't!" "What is? It's too easy." Lynn's hand went into the left pocket of her cardigan. With one half of his head filled with the novel writing, and the other half with pudding, her father had forgotten about Rufus. But she didn't feel like talking about it, so she answered, "C-A-T." "Perfect!" her father laughed. "1 point to Miss Risquist. If you'd like, we could go to the museum again on Saturday," her mother said, "or the library, or the cathedral, and I could make you peppermint cookies. They're your favorite, right? You know, they match short." "My eyes, I know." Lynn pushed her chair back. "Actually, I'm soaked through. I'll go change." Her parents began to speak in soft voices as soon as she left the room. On her way upstairs, she skipped the squeaky steps. She liked to move silently in the house, so the grandfather clock and the hulky furniture wouldn't hear her coming. The bureau on the second floor and landing seemed especially malevolent. Lynn always stopped in front of it to prove she wasn't scared. Her mother had noticed and dressed it up with a lace runner or 2 of Lynn's favorite photos. The first photo, Summerhill View from the mountains, it seemed so small from afar, just a patchwork of meadows and potato fields, stitched around a barn, and an ancient elm tree, and the 2 houses. Nicholas lived with his grandmother and uncle in the long, white main house, with many shadowy rooms, and a room, too many for such a small family. Grandma always said. Therefore, she had invited the Risquists to live in the red house, in the Morella garden, so Anne could work on her song collection and Harold could work in his novel, and Lynn could climb straight from her bedroom window into the sweet cherry tree to work on her pit spinning with Nicholas. The second photo, Lynn and her father sitting on the slopes of Buttertop Hill. He was smiling, completely unaware that he was being tricked, and Lynn was frowning, keeping both her lips and her left pocket pressed tightly around her secret, Rufus. She had just found him when the photo was taken. He had been lying in the heather, not far from the entrance to the burrow. His left leg had been bleeding, and he was panting so hard his rust-colored back, and gray flanks trembled. A mouse pup, Lynn had thought, and though she knew she should call to her father so he could put the little thing out of her misery, she instead lifted the mouse gently and put him in her pocket. Back in her room, she had fed him breadcrumbs and cheese, rhymes, and watched his wound healing, but it had taken Harold Whistcliffe long to sniff out the secret. "You do realize, Miss Whistcliffe," he had said in his mysterious lecturing tone, "the mouse is not a pet. In fact, it's not even a mouse, but a moth. Forsooth, a red-backed roll. It belongs in the wind, not in a child's room. You cannot possibly keep it." In the end, it was her parents who had realized that Lynn would not give up Rufus. They insisted on a cage, and Lynn had agreed, and even kept the cage by her bed. But Rufus had never lived there. He lived in her cardigan, her favorite blue one that Grandma Alma had knitted, where he nestled in the left pocket and chewed the tassels of the drawstrings in the collar. Out in the woods, he rode on her shoulder, whiskers wide and claws dug deep. On the farm, he kept out of view from everyone except Nicholas, and he had a special knack for scrambling into her sleeve 2 seconds before her father crossed the yard. In the city, Rufus had been her only friend, her only tie to home. He had slept curled up on her pillow, and when she scratched him, he had leaned against her fingers to say he understood. But at the trees shed their leaves, and the afternoons grew dim, Rufus had changed. He stopped sneaking off on nightly expeditions, and he no longer raided Lynn's plate for cheese. Once he had tumbled from her shoulder and fallen hard to the ground, and after that he kept to her pocket, even when they were alone. One crisp Tuesday 5 weeks ago, there was no brush of whiskers on her cheek. In the morning, Rufus had quietly crept into his cage to sleep, and there was nothing Lynn could do to wake him. She had buried the shoebox under the rosebush because that happened to be the sole patch of uncobbled ground on the street, and she had spent so many afternoons there that her parents had taken to hovering like moons in the kitchen window. "Would you like to have someone over?" they had asked, all chipper and hopeful, as if it was that simple. "Someone from school, perhaps?" Lynn shut the doors to her attic room. She went straight to her closet, which she kept so messy no one else would bother go near it. Her trap, the paper clip on the handle, had not been sprung. Under her worn hiking boots, she had found the thing that had lured her away from Rufus's grave, the troll hunting casket. She pulled the carpet box out of the floor and checked the contents. A magnifying glass to make something strong enough to cut through bark and sap on. A roll of maps that she had drawn with marks from all trees, bushes, oak trees, and a small jar from carefully gathered acorns, the only weapon that would kill a troll outright. It had all begun with a jar like this, the one she and Nicholas had found amongst Grandma Alma's old fishing gear in the Summerhill loft. The faded label had said, "Troll's Bane." From that seed the troll hunt had grown, game by delicious game, into the Summerhill woods, and all the way up to the Trollham Mountains. Lena unscrewed the lid, letting out an acrid puff of air. It was her special concoction, since bright sunlight turned trolls into stone, and since sunburns and nettle welts were much the same. Cured the acorns in a brew of nettles, and sour leaf made them even more lethal. But she didn't take any. The acorns were from Summerhill trolls. Would trolls who slept under rock and sniff under trees? Old town trolls lived in sewers and slimes, so the acorns would not work on them. Their bane would be different, something that could be found naturally in the area, something very rare. She just hadn't figured it out what it was yet. She rifled through the map rolls. There were 6 of them. all drawn after her father had sent Lynn and Nicholas out to add details to a map of Summerhill Woods. He had needed it to research for his novel, but ever since Lynn had created her own maps for the troll hunt, with legends for sightings and lairs. She picked out her work in progress a map of Old Town and put the casket back into the wardrobe. Her cardigan had damp stripes along the shoulders, and she pulled it back on over her dry pajamas, tied the drawstrings, and climbed onto the windowsill. Then rolled out the map, turned it so it fit her view. She had penciled in the few potential layers, but there were no marks for sightings, because in 3 months since they had moved to the city, she had not seen a single troll. Now there was a storm and a terrific one that always brought the enemy out, tore back at the window. Lynn leaned close to the window, peered through the sharp raindrops that pelted the glass. "Come on," she whispered. "I'm ready." At the end of the street by the foot of the bridge, there were 2 flashes. Lynn sat up hard, squinting towards the red pillars. It must have been a coincidence a bicycle light cut in half by the bridge post, or a reflect in a sign. But no, there it was again, 2 blinks in a quick succession. This time it was a window of the closest coffee shop across the street. In the troll hunt, this was the fastest and easiest of signals, because it was also the most desperate. Danger trolls nearby. She pressed her brow to the pane, holding her breath so it wouldn't cloud the glass. Did something stir in the violent sheets of the rain, in a billow of cloth, in a flittering shape against the cobblestones? The third signal appeared where Lynn could only see its halo, right below her, on Miss Ishla's step. Lynn pushed herself off the window-sill, stuck her feet in her slippers, and raced for the stairs. Summerhill was a long and expensive bus ride away, and in his last letter Nicholas had written nothing about coming here. But he must have, because only he knew that signal. She hadn't reached farther than the second-floor bureau when she heard the mail slot creak and clack, and as she rushed down the remaining steps, she got her first glimpse of a small and flat parcel laying face down on Miss Ishla's musty storage mat. The slap of wet wind met her when she tore the door open. She looked up the street and down the street, and it was deserted. "Nicholas!" she called. "I know you're there." But he was not done with his game, it seemed, because he didn't emerge from the murk. A square of one light, illuminated from Moose's parade, making a glitter. The thin layer of flash covered almost the whole flower bed now. It must be getting colder after all. Shivering, Lynn retreated into the hallway to examine the parcel. The rough paper was the color of broken mountainside, and bound in sun strings. She turned it over, and a chill hand caught her heart. Nicholas could not have sent her this parcel. No one could. On the front there was no stamp and no address. Only a single word written not by a pen or pencil, but scratched into the wet paper with the sharp tip of a knife. TwistRose. And that, everyone, is the end of Chapter 1. We'll start Chapter 2 soon enough. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the show.